So in period between 2022 and 2023, I used to have really big struggles with mental health, or at least I thought so. I was around 16 or 17 years old, and I'd constantly blame my inability to pay attention, be happy, and achieve things that I want to achieve on my ADHD, childhood trauma, and other things of that nature. Simply put, I used to live in this mental prison which I've built for myself, and I was stuck in this constant cycle of self-destruction. And even though I used to go to the gym and exercise like almost every single day, my mind was just not in the right place. And back then I thought that I had no idea what to do about it. But the truth is, I simply didn't even want to know what to do about it. Why? And the shortest answer to it is that I felt comfortable living inside of this bubble, which played the role of a shield which covered me from being exposed to the world essentially. And it was the exact thing on which I could blame all of my shortcomings, failures, and everything else. And even though deep down I probably wanted to change something, I couldn't because first, it required me to get out of my comfort zone, which obviously I didn't want to do. And secondly, I had a massive ego which wouldn't allow me to even think of a possibility that I might be wrong in my attitude. I was deeply convinced that that's like just the way things are and I'm supposed to live like that for the rest of my life. And funny enough, the thing which started the process of pulling me out of that state was just a random video which I saw on YouTube where this guy talked about the fact that the world doesn't really care about all those small excuses that you might have. It only cares about what you actually produce and who you are as a person. And another thing which completely blew me away at the time, and that's also from that same video, which is it is up to you to decide whether you're going to own your mind or it's going to own you. And the reason why it got me so offended is because I was, deeply convinced and sure that I am this special snowflake who has it worse than everyone else, that nobody's been through things that I've been through and nobody knows what they're talking about, it doesn't relate to me, and all the rest of those bullshit thoughts that my mind used to come up with on a consistent basis. But of course, deep down, I understood exactly that this guy was telling the truth and that I was wrong. And as time went on, as a couple of days, couple of weeks went by, the things started to kind of come up in my head and started to make sense. And in one beautiful sunny day, like in a fairy tale, it was like the thing clicked. And it's like the new level was unlocked, and the name of that level was self-awareness. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to guide you through exact 4 steps that you can take in order to break this vicious cycle of self-destruction and gain mental self-awareness. And I'm going to start this with a quote from Alex Hormozi, which I really love. He says, "Where you point the finger of blame, power follows." And this is the type of quote which may offend many people, and it would surely offend me back then if I heard it. But I think that we can all agree on the fact that our brains love to blame other people for our mistakes and shortcomings. It happens all the time to everyone, and most of the time it happens unconsciously. Like, you wouldn't consciously go to your mom and say that she's the reason for all of your childhood traumas and failures in life. You start by quietly thinking it inside of your head when everything goes bad, things don't go your way, and you just feel like you've been humiliated. Then you try to kind of outsource the pain and find the person or the thing which is responsible for your pain, which is not true in the first place. Hopefully that makes sense. But the point here is that obviously by doing that, you automatically give the power to that person. But blaming others is way easier in short term, and blaming yourself is way more beneficial for you in a long term. But if you are the kind of person, and again I used to be exactly the same, who struggles with this kind of thinking, then here are 3 steps that you can do in order to eliminate this kind of thinking from your head. So the first step is taking a piece of paper and a pen, or simply opening some kind of notes app on your phone, but I suggest that you keep it simple with a piece of paper and a pen, and writing down all of the things that you can think of that in your opinion are stopping you from achieving whatever you want to achieve, whether it's getting in better shape, developing better relationships, earning more, studying better, like whatever the thing is in which you want to make progress. Now the second step is, after you've written all of those things down, try to think of solutions to those things. No bullshitting, only brutal honesty. You know that your mind will probably start to resist and come up with some kind of excuses. Don't listen to it, just be brutally honest and try to actually solve problems. You can try and think of it this way and ask yourself this question, for example: what can I do about it? Specifically I, not the other person, not the universe, not what can happen. What can I do? And step number 3 is thinking of what you did wrong. Once again, brutal honesty. I know that it's going to be painful and your ego will probably resist, but try and list out all mistakes that you can find. And here's the list of questions that you can ask yourself. What did I do wrong here? Could I have reacted differently in this particular situation? Did I actually do my best here? And so on. And in conclusion to the first point of this video, I'm going to say that the main thing here is that you want to try and blame yourself. And no, not in a self-destructive way, not hating yourself as you've probably done before, but critiquing yourself and finding the mistakes in a constructive, cold-hearted, truthful manner that will make you want to improve. Now, the second point of this video is reprogramming the mind, and this is a tricky one, because here you will actually have to learn to not bullshit yourself, which is extremely difficult because our brains love to do it. I sometimes fall into this trap myself, where I kind of know exactly what to do, but I still ignore it and I let my brain flood my mind with this negative, random excuses to which I submit, and I kind of walk around this mental labyrinth and pretend I have no idea where the exit is. And to give an example of this, I want you to think of a situation where you start to overeat that healthy food and you clearly understand that you're doing something wrong here, but at the same time you cannot stop because your mind just kind of starts to come up with thousands of different excuses of why I should finish this, that next time is going to be different, this time I'm going to allow myself to finish this, but next time I won't even touch it. But the problem here is that the next time never comes, and you just kind of keep walking around the circle and never change anything. And here's some things that you can do in order to try and change your brain's automatic response. The first thing is start to privately expose your mind. Now here's what I mean by this. Again, take a piece of paper and a pen and write down all of the situation that you can think of where you knew that you were doing the wrong thing, but you kept on doing it anyways. Be as straightforward as you possibly can. Nobody's going to see it. It's private. It's yours. Just try and expose your mind and try to write the things that you don't probably want to write. Try and think of situations where you were wrong, but you kept doing the thing, and admit that you were wrong there. And the second thing is try to visualize the future as if it's already here right now, and try to think of it in a positive way. Like, what if everything actually worked out for me? How would my life look and feel like if I actually made it work, and so on. And the reason why it's important is because oftentimes when people are stuck in the self-destructive cycle, their brain's out response tends to be negative. Something like this, for example. Of course it didn't work, like, it's me, lol. The world is against me. I'll fail even if I'll try, and so on and so forth. And so with all that said, the main point here is that you want to try and teach your mind to think the way you want it to think. Not the way it's been programmed by society, by your parents, by the negative experiences that you had, but the way you actually wanted to think and the responses you wanted to give you. Try and practice those two things for a while, and I promise you, you will see a lot of improvement. But yeah, important thing to mention is that you don't want to rush the process. You want to take the time because it's difficult, and changing the way your brain works really takes a lot of time. Now, the point number 3 of this video is executing on essentials. Now, I think that here most people would agree with me on the fact that real change never comes from thinking your way to it. Yes, mind is a prerequisite, but at the end of the day, we change the way our mind works in order to then execute and make some particular thing happen. But that being said, you don't need to first change your mind in order to change your physical reality. And here's a quote from Andrew Huberman, which is perfectly suitable here. You cannot control minds with the mind. Now, to keep it simple, here's the list of things that everyone, in my opinion, should do, and also what I've done to escape the self-destruction cycle. Keeping things in your room or house clean and in order. Taking care of your appearance, which can be in the form of taking a fresh haircut every month, for example. Exercising at least 3 to 4 times a week. Meditating or doing some kind of breath work. Try and start with Sam Harris's meditations. Looking after the diet, meaning, for example, limiting over-processed food and sugary food. And the last, which is a huge one, limiting the junk info exposure. I fell into this info trap a couple of days ago where I started to watch news and it completely destroyed like 2 days of my productivity. I started to worry about things that I can't control. I was overwhelmed and I just simply couldn't function properly. I also posted about it on my X account, and yeah, by the way, make sure to go and subscribe. But as you probably understand, this is not just about the news. This is about the media that you consume. This is about the short form content, the junk music, the softcore porn, useless video games that you probably play, and so on. And yeah, by the way, music can also be junk. I know that some people might be offended by it. Now, getting back to the point, the main thing here is that a lot of people wait for the perfect moment to start acting, to start changing their lives, to start fixing their behavior. But the funny thing is, there is no right moment. Starting is the perfect condition, as Alex Hormozi says. And to escape the vicious cycle of self-destruction, you need to realize that in order to change your physical life, you don't necessarily have to change your mind first. And so the last point of this video is making sure to not fall back into the pitfall. Now, the important thing to understand here is that self-destruction is very addictive. The same goes for self-sabotage, by the way. Whenever you try to change your mindset, your actions, your vision, the lesser version of you will try to pull you back in constantly. And from my own observation, it never really goes away. The only real option is to constantly fight it back and constantly keep choosing the right thing. Now, I'm still trying to figure out the best approach to it, but here's what I came up with so far. Discipline is the worst enemy of the lesser self. The more you break through the walls of resistance, the weaker that self becomes. And probably the coolest way to practice this, and also a cool way to build discipline, is taking cold showers. And right now I'm on 330 plus days streak cycle, so it's kind of something that I've been mastering over the last year. Now the main point here is, once again, self-destructive behaviors and self-sabotage, which is probably one of them, are very, very addictive. And to escape them and keep up the good work, it is essential to constantly challenge yourself and grow. With reasonable difficulty, of course, to not get discouraged, as well as also giving yourself some credit for what you have already accomplished. And on that note, I want to thank you for watching this video until the end. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Also, don't forget to check out the description for my free email newsletter, where every single week I send out lots of useful stuff. And with all that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.